You're watching a non-level production. This is your host, Ricky Klein, the cassette master, coming at you at some unspecified speed, this time measured in kilometers an hour. And today we'll be showing to you a very special recorder, a Modernage TR-400 rim drive reel-to-reel tape recorder, sporting 4 transistors and DC bias. Here's how this DC bias wonder records music. Here is it in rewind operation. This unit is working, well, it was sort of working on original parts when I first got it. I got it at a flea market, and but I replaced a few of the electrolytic capacitors in its little 4 transistor amplifier. But it has an idler wheel, so it's got the motor shaft with rubber around a larger portion of the motor shaft, which presses against the reel table for rewind, or the smaller part, the motor shaft itself, presses against an idler wheel, which transfers motion to the take-up reel for the rim drive. Originally, of course, that idler wheel was also used to facilitate the breaking of the tape. As you can see, it does not break now, but it used to break really well. You might think, why would I make it less good? Now this moves freely. It used to be braked. Well, it used the idler wheel as a brake, and of course with it sitting there for all those years unused, it developed not one but 2 flat spots. One flat spot where the idler pressed against the motor shaft, and the other flat spot where the idler pressed against the reel table. So the speed stability was atrocious in its ways because of the flat spot. Every time it went over those flat spots, you'd hear it go, you know, it sounded terrible. But I was amazed by how good the amplifier sounded on this one. The frequency response obviously is limited and not the best on the highs, but the clarity of the recordings baffled me, because a lot of these rim drive recorders have such poor quality recording, but this one sounded surprisingly good with voice. We'll give a quick test of that soon. But the speed stability was so atrocious that I wanted to do something about that. So thankfully, there's someone I know who has access to a machine shop and a lathe or something like that that can grind it down. So I gave him the roller to grind down, and he smoothed the roller down, filed the rubber down to where it didn't have a notch anymore, and the machine runs a lot better now. So anyway, I want to take the reels off. I just want to show what this looks like without reels. These are the reels that were with the recorder when I got it. One side was blank, the other side has original recordings. I'll play some snippets of that. But a pretty cool looking recorder. I like how, see, a lot of rim drive recorders, the motor shaft and everything is exposed and you can kind of see it move and stuff, or the rubber reel tables are also exposed. On this one, all of that is underneath, and actually these reel tables don't have any rubber on them. So, and as of also you would have noticed that when I tilted the recorder into different positions, the speed changed. It's best to operate this recorder sitting just vertically, or sitting flat on a table. Otherwise, if you start moving it around, the speed is going to be all over the place, because the motor has no regulation, of course, so the pressure changes or anything like that is going to affect it. Because the motor itself, of course, is directly ran off of a couple of C-cell batteries, and there's no regulation whatsoever. But still, this one performs pretty well for a rim drive recorder, which is impressive. So let's just turn the tape over and let's see what we have. Really not the best recording there. It was a lecture recording at a distance, and of course with a crystal microphone, and it does not do justice to how well this actually does record speech with a dynamic microphone. So let's show that. By the way, with the tape around this area on the reel, the speed is around 3 3/4 inches per second. I'm going to try some different microphones with this rim drive, ironically professional quality microphones, to see how it sounds. With the volume control set with the red line right there, I want to speak right up to the mic. Testing, this is the Modernage TR-400 reel-to-reel tape recorder with a volume with the red line in the middle. The volume's all the way up, it doesn't take much movement there. The red line is now toward the minimum sign, but the volume's not down all the way. I just want to see what difference there is with audio intensity.
Testing. This is the Modernage TR-400 reel-to-reel tape recorder with a volume with the red line in the middle. The volume's all the way up. It doesn't take much movement there. The red line is now toward the minimum sign, but the volume's not down all the way. I just wanted to see what difference there is with audio intensity.
Alright, we're going to try the Shure SM57 now and see how that fares. We're going to put the volume around this area here. This is a recording on the Modernage TR-400 reel-to-reel tape recorder using the Shure SM57 professional grade microphone. This recorder is 4 transistor and DC bias with manual level control, and it's from the year 1962 as far as I can find out from seeing an old ad for it online. And before we go on too further with playing back, we're going to use one more microphone. So we had just used the Shure SM57, which is a very popular microphone. Heck, I had a dream that had something to do with the Shure SM57 last night, I think. Now we have the Shure desktop microphone. You know, very, very commonly seen desktop microphone, which uses a balanced armature transducer. Yes, I know I'm digressing, but I do want to show I have a transducer from another one of those units. This is actually what's used in the Shure desktop microphone, is this little balanced armature thing with an interestingly shaped cone, which is like an inverted cone because it goes up, and then the needle moves a little armature within this coil. This can also be used as a earphone too if you want. It's very, very interesting. Balanced armature transducers are extremely interesting, and kind of an odd type of transducer. So we're going to try using this mic here now. We might get interference when we turn off the fluorescent light. We've experienced that before with the Stancil Hoffman recorder. We were having extreme interference issues, which ended up just being the freaking fluorescent light, which for a long time I wasn't aware that was the case. Alright, so now we're using the Shure desktop microphone to make a recording on this recorder, this rim drive recorder. Yo, boom! Now we got the microphone sitting on the desktop here. The level is set all the way up, and I'm speaking at arm's length distance away from the Shure desktop microphone. And we're going to see how this comes out with the Modernage TR-400 rim drive tape recorder. And let's see what happens if we hold the machine in the vertical position as if it's being carried by the carrying handle, being a portable recorder. Alright. Rewind it, and we'll play it back shortly. I actually kind of like this lighting. This is a recording on the Modernage TR-400 reel-to-reel tape recorder using the Shure SM57 professional grade microphone. This recorder is 4 transistor and DC bias with manual level control, and it's from the year 1962 as far as I can find out from seeing an old ad for it online. Alright, so now we're using the Shure desktop microphone to make a recording on this recorder, this rim drive recorder. Now we got the microphone sitting on the desktop here. The level is set all the way up, and I'm speaking at arm's length distance away from the Shure desktop microphone, and we're going to see how this comes out with the Modernage TR-400 rim drive tape recorder. And let's see what happens if we hold the machine in the vertical position as if it's being carried by the carrying handle, being a portable recorder. Alright. You can hear the speed considerably change whenever the machine is held. I'm curious if I were to put the desktop microphone in the earphone jack, how it would sound.
Microphone to make a recording on this recorder, this rim drive recorder. Now we got the microphone sitting on the desktop here. The level is set all the way up, and I'm speaking at arm's length distance away from the Shure desktop microphone, and we're going to see how this comes out.
It sounds a lot like one of those dictation machines that plays through the microphone when I do that. But what amazes me about this is, as you could hear, I mean, obviously it's not high fidelity. I mean, the frequency response is very narrow. There's still a little bit of, speed stability issues here and there. But the actual intelligibility of the voice on this recorder is surprisingly good. I mean, it uses one of those typical 4-transistor amplifiers, and those don't always sound very good. I've got some recorders that use those types of amps that I have a hard time getting a very good sound quality out of. This one just does a surprisingly good job. I'm just blown away. I mean, also the amount of amplification, the amount of gain it has. This will actually play pretty loudly through the little speaker. This one has a slightly bigger speaker than most of the portables. Let me get my measuring stuff. Most of these recorders most rim drive recorders and little portables tend to have speakers of this size, which is a 2 1/4 inch. Yes, I'm fully aware I'm using the Imperial system. But this one uses the speaker this size, which is 2 1/2, or well, you're about 2 1/2 inches, a little bit bigger, which tends to give it a bit of a better sound quality. A little bit more bass, even though the bass response of this recorder, at least playing back from its internal amplifier, is very limited. Another interesting thing about this one is the battery cover is made of metal. Everything else, of course, the main case here is plastic, and of course the top plate's metal, but the battery cover is metal of a slightly different blue color than the blue of the case as well. So that's really interesting. I really like this color blue, kind of turquoise looking blue. It's very nice looking. I also like how the 9-volt is in the middle of the two C cells. As you can see also, these sunbeams, super heavy duty. Heavy duty. Carbon zinc. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's a very cool looking little recorder. I like how the speaker's at the bottom. I like how the speaker's at the bottom and how it has these little feet to prop the recorder up enough that the sound can get out. And I'm just amazed by how well it performs for being a rim drive machine.
On this recorder.
But before I go, I want to show it with a crystal microphone, because as you could hear on the other recordings on the other side made when this recorder was, well, literally modern, I want to hear how it sounds with a crystal mic, because obviously it originally would have been with a crystal microphone, and I just want to see how the experience would have been with close range voice and stuff with a crystal mic. So now I want to spend about 10,000 years searching for a crystal mic, and once I find one, I will finally get back to you. Here's a crystal microphone, very typical to those that you find with rim drive recorders. So we'll use it. Experience crystal power. I'm using a crystal microphone. With this recorder, the volume is set to the position where the red line is in the middle. Now that's not genuinely mid-position of the actual swing of the volume control. There's a lot more range on there. But anyway, test, test, test. This is a crystal mic. Test, DC bias, DC bias.
Experience crystal power. I'm using a crystal microphone. With this recorder, the volume is set to the position where the red line is in the middle. Now that's not genuinely mid-position of the actual swing of the volume control. But anyway, test, test, test. This is a crystal mic. Test, DC bias, DC bias. Vertical position as if it's being carried by.
Yeah. Crystal microphone doesn't sound very good on here. Really, to get good performance out of this recorder, you need to use a dynamic microphone. Hope you enjoyed the video of the Ross I hope you enjoyed the video of the Modernage TR-400 rim drive. I always say 3.5 inch, but it's more like 3.25 inch or something like that. Reel-to-reel tape recorder. Shot on the 27th of December 2021.
This has been a Cassette Master production.